Lost in the morgue. Most of you must disbelieve what I'm gonna tell you, but I still got trembled when recalling this. It was a month ago. You know, there are 3 people in my family, my father, my mom and me. The only daughter. You might think I must be treated like a princess, but well no, my mom is the princess here. Me and my dad always indulge my mom. My mom is a self-love housewife, love cooking and cooks very well. She often buys stuff through the internet. She's living a happy woman and carefree. 1 month earlier, due to some stomach issues, she needed a few minor surgeries and had to hospitalized in a half month. I was in my summer vacation, and my dad had went away for his business trip, so I had to stay in the hospital all the time to take good care of my mom and hope she was gonna recover soon. "Mommy, would you like a banana?" She was too boring of being in her sickbed the entire day. "I'm not hungry, so not now, honey," she said with a deep sigh. The next morning, as usual, I left to buy her breakfast after reminding her, "You gotta stay still, or you will get an open incision. Mommy, I'll be back in a minute." I walked through the hallway and passed by a small sickbed next to the stair. This is a public hospital. Occasionally, patients are outnumbered, so there was some extra beds outside, along the hallway just in case. My gut told me there was something strange with this bed at the first glance, so I came closer and had a look curiously. That was a death body, I thought, an old man whose body had been covered by a white canvas to his face. I was only able to see his forehead and his gray hair. I was just a young girl who had never seen a death body before, so it was a bit terrified. Anyways, I had to get downstairs, so I tried to hold my breath and ran with my head down as quick as I could until I reached the cafeteria. After buying breakfast, I headed back. When passing the dead bed again, I felt like being frozen. I was a bit hesitated, but then I pulled myself together and stepped up. This time, I thought it would be such impolite to an old death man if just walk by like earlier, so I gave him a slight bow and back to my mom's room. I brought my mom breakfast. She was all set to eat. She looked at my pale, tired face, and talked repentantly, "Honey, this must be too much for you to take care of me by yourself. You have had enough troublesome lately. I'll promise to give you some extra monthly allowance." I was a bit ashamed. All my fears of the death body had to be displayed all over my face, but I had much more calmed down now. "Mommy, that's okay. I'm your only dear daughter." That night, my mom asked me, "Honey, would you mind buying me a container of yogurt? I'd like to grab a bite to eat." The grocery store was at the ground floor, but I had to pass by the dead bed one again. I left unwilling since that was a queen order. "I'll buy you one now, Mommy." At the room door, I realized there was another stair at the opposite direction. Such a relief. I didn't have to pass by the deadline by using this stairway. I stepped towards leisurely. After buying a container of yogurt, I headed back to inpatient department right away. While taking the stairway, I saw an old patient just a few steps ahead from me who was walking hardly with his humped back. He was taking step by step very slowly, so I decided to help him out. "Might I help you? What are you here for at this late?" The old man turned around surprisingly once hearing my voice. He squinted his eyes and gave me a slight smile. "Oh, that's you." That was making me confused. I have tried to recall, but I was pretty sure I have never met him before. "We know each other?" "Uncle." He was likely to able to read my mind. "Come, give me a hand. I need to get over this staircase." That was my initial purpose. He continued, "It's quite difficult for me to find room 401. I have to get there. Could you help me, my dear?" "Okay. This is the second floor. 401 is at the 4th floor. I'll lead the way." He had to be an Alzheimer patient here. Such a poor old man, I thought. He have probably mistaken me for someone. I focused on helping him to find his room. I broke the silence. Why are you here this late? Where is your child? You should ask your child if you need something. He gave a deep sigh. My son is being too busy to be here with me. Then he looked angry and more emotional suddenly. He gotta be here to pick me up no later than 2 more days. There was something very strange in his words, but I thought I should stop asking. I reminded him, your family isn't here, so you should stay put. You're not good at memorize things anymore, don't you? I'm afraid if there is something happens to you, your family is gonna worry sick. He didn't reply me back, so we was drowning to the silence while reaching the 4th floor. Right after stepping to the 4th floor, I felt there was a cold breeze blows by and got goosebumps instantly. I thought that might be something wrong with the air conditioner here, since everything was good at the 5th floor where my mom was being. I looked over the floor to search for room 401. It was definitely at the end of the hallway. I pointed out to the old man, your room is at this direction. Next time, remember once you get to the 4th floor, you have to turn left, and just straight. Room 401 is the last one. He held my hand to show his appreciation. My dear, you're such a good girl, thank you. Once he touched my hand, I froze and wondered if his health was too bad to have such a low body temperature. I just needed to take him to his room and back to my mom at the 5th floor. Uncle, I'll take you to your room, we're nearly there. He turned around as an agreement. We walked together in the dark hallway. I felt like I was entering another world. Here it was, room 401 was opening and covering in darkness. Once we were entered to the room, I tried to figure where the switch was to turn the lights on, but no ideas. Seemed like this room had a different design than the others. I tended to ask the old man, but he seemed so calm and used to this dark room. I worriedly asked, Uncle, let me turn the light on. The room is so dark, you will easily fall down here. He replied, you have done with helping me, dear. Now you can leave me alone hurriedly. Don't bother the others here. I looked around. There was no others in the room, just silence and darkness. Who are the others? I see no one. What are you talking about? Somewhat puzzled. Then I heard a voice from behind me, Lee, you're back. He whispered to me in an awkward face after hearing that voice, my dear, just listen to me and you are gonna be fine. While I was being unintelligible, a white shining shadow appears next to me. That's a ghost, but the gosh had no sense of my existence yet, just slightly over by me. I was standing unspeakably. That was a middle-aged woman's slight voice behind the old man's back. Lee, you said you went out to look for your son, did you find him yet? Suddenly, she appeared right at the right of the old man. She looked like a normal woman, but there was a huge hole in the middle of her forehead. She slightly sighed and comforted Uncle Lee, you still got luck. You have your son. I don't have anyone to come take my death body home. Then she appeared in front of me and realized my existence. She asked surprisingly, why is there a living human being here? At that moment, I got dizzy like getting a hangover and everything was just spinning around and fading out in front of me. Once I was awakened, I was laying in a sick bed. I tried to sit straight up but still got dizzy and was ready to drop. I realized there was a doctor sitting right next to me. He stopped me to stand up. Young lady, I think you're lightly anemic, so you have blacked out earlier. Sit still. I have made you a cup of liquid sugar, would you like some? I asked him, Doc, I went to room 401 and how did I get here? He seemed shocked from my question. You were blacked out because of anemia and exhaustion. You should take a good rest. I am not a patient, I'm not a child neither, but why I couldn't remember what happened in room 401. Could you just tell me what is that place and what have happened to me? The more I tried to remember, the more I got dizzy and heavy headache. The doc finally tell me the truth. All right, listen, you have went to the morgue and blacked out. You must have too much scared. He scratched his head regrettably. That was my carelessness. I should pay more attention to that room and did not let you in. Anyways, why didn't you see the morgue sign at the front door? I recalled when I reached the room. It was opening and everything so dark to see. So that was why I didn't notice the sign. He mumbled, such a horrible floor. Some doctors had faced ghosts there. He asked me, could you remember what did you saw in there? You have been there for hours, possibly. I helped an old man to get there. He told me that was his room, and his son is gonna pick him up in the next 2 days probably. The doc stared at me surprisingly. Did you mention about Mr. Lee? His death body was sent here yesterday after he got a heart attack. The doc continued, Mr. Lee was living alone by himself. He has a son, a soldier who is guarding at the border area afar. He was unable to be here to hear Lee's dead wish. Then, he asked me one again to stay until I felt better and back to his work, left me sitting there pensively. I realized I had left my mom for hours, so I rushed to my mom's room. My mom grumbled worryingly right after seeing my face. Where have you been? I was worrying sick helplessly here for hours here? I didn't tell her about the morgue and the ghost. I just explained that the grocery store had too many customers and then I had to assist a doctor with his patient. She picked on me, but I was not getting angry. I was very grateful for how lucky I was so far. I was having my family next to me all the time. 2 days later, everything was over. I couldn't stand for the stuffy hospital room, so I'd like to walk outside. I have noticed there was a young man in a military uniform stepped into the 4th floor by stairway. He had a healthy body and tanned and was tearing out. He walked by me, hurriedly towards the end of the hallway. I guessed that had to be Mr. Lee's son. He came to bring his father home.